Welcome to today's Explainer. When you really stop and think about it, humanity is a species strictly designed for the surface of this planet. We have a ridiculously narrow window of environments where our biology is actually meant to thrive. Yet, time and time again, we somehow manage to survive absolute extremes. We're talking everything from the freezing, thin air of high altitudes to the crushing dark depths of the sea, and even man-made cataclysms. So how do we do it? Is it just a miracle? Let's dive into the data. We constantly romanticize the idea of miraculous survival, don't we? We call it fate, or a guardian angel, or just winning the cosmic lottery. But what if surviving the impossible isn't just luck? To really answer this, we have to look at one of the most mind-bending historical accounts on record, the story of a man named Tsutomu Yamaguchi. He is absolutely the perfect case study to help us deconstruct this myth of miraculous survival and replace it with a fascinating scientific reality. Section 1. The Ultimate Survival Story. Tsutomu Yamaguchi and the Atomic Blasts. To set up his incredible journey and really understand this mystery, we have to start with the sheer scale of what we are dealing with. 1.9 miles. That was Tsutomu Yamaguchi's exact physical placement, his literal distance from ground zero when an atomic bomb detonated. I want you to really visualize that number. 1.9 miles is practically right on top of an atomic blast. It's a distance where survival seems absolutely terrifying and, frankly, completely impossible. At this proximity, the human body theoretically just shouldn't endure that kind of sheer destructive force. But here is where the story shifts from incredibly rare to virtually impossible. We aren't just talking about him surviving one atomic blast at 1.9 miles. Tsutomu Yamaguchi survived two completely separate atomic blasts, both at that exact, terrifying proximity of 1.9 miles. The compound improbability of this is just staggering. I mean, if survival was nearly a lottery ticket, he won the most impossible lottery in human history twice in a row. So how do we explain this? Section 2. Physics of the survival zone, atmospheric pressure, and radiation. To solve this, we're going to pivot right now from historical awe straight into hard science and look at the raw, unforgiving laws of physics. Enter the survival zone. This is the exact physical location where environmental variables allow for biological continuation despite surrounding extremes. Basically, I want you to think of variables like atmospheric pressure and radiation not just as invisible forces, but as active characters. They are dynamic actors that exert direct force upon the fragile human body. If you happen to be standing in a space where those actors cancel each other out or get blocked, you are in the survival zone. Let's break down exactly how this physical pocket protected him at that 1.9-mile mark. It wasn't magic, guys. It was a highly specific interaction of three variables. First, his exact distance from the epicenter dictated the initial force. Second, atmospheric pressure dynamics. A blast creates a massive displacement of air, right? But the terrain and surrounding environment create complex ripples in that pressure, meaning some exact spots experience less crushing force than others. Finally, radiation shielding. The physical materials between him and the blast absorbed the deadly ionizing energy. These three physical variables aligned perfectly to create a tiny, microscopic pocket of safety. Section 3. Pushing our biological limits, from the deep sea to high altitude. So, we've seen how external physics, like atomic blasts, can create a precise survival zone. But what happens when we push the internal, biological thresholds of the human body in other natural environments? Well, to understand survival, we have to look at two terrifying, completely opposing extremes. On one hand, high altitude, a severe lack of atmospheric pressure that results in oxygen deprivation. Your body simply cannot pull what it needs from the thin air. On the other hand, the deep sea. The variable flips completely to crushing atmospheric pressure, leading to extreme structural compression. These are the terrifying magnitudes of how our surface-dwelling biology reacts to external extremes. To really ground the danger of these extremes, we need to understand how the body actually fails. Consider cerebral hypoxia. It's a condition where the brain is deprived of an adequate oxygen supply, leading to rapid biological failure. And here's the thing, it doesn't matter how physically strong you are or how much willpower you have. When you are pushed past your physical oxygen threshold, the procedural logic of biology just takes over, and the machine simply shuts down. And oxygen isn't our only strict limitation. Look at this number, 160 degrees Fahrenheit.
This introduces another terrifying biological limit of our species. This is the maximum water temperature the human body can theoretically withstand. Once you cross this specific numerical threshold, cellular damage becomes catastrophic and immediate. Think about it. Our everyday, comfortable biological baseline sits at a steady 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. But just go a bit higher, to 160 degrees, and we hit our absolute thermal limit before total structural failure. It's a pretty stark reminder of the incredibly narrow corridor of physics that our biology demands to just keep ticking. Section 4. Luck versus procedural logic. Reframing the impossible. All of this requires a complete shift in the survival paradigm. We are moving away from the old idea of miraculous luck, relying on cosmic lottery tickets and just hoping for the best when disaster strikes. Instead, we're stepping into the new scientific reality of procedural logic in physics. We're finalizing the shift from viewing survival as some magical mystery to understanding it as a physical mastery of variables. If you take one thing away from this entire explainer, let it be this. Survival is procedural logic. It is simply about being in the right physical location at the exact right time. Whether it suits Tomo Yamaguchi surviving atmospheric pressure and radiation by standing in the perfect shielding pocket at 1.9 miles, or understanding the exact oxygen and temperature limits of your own biology, surviving the impossible is not luck. It is simply a matter of physics and biological placement. I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought. Considering the absolute fragility of the human body, our intense vulnerability to pressure, heat, and radiation, where is your physical placement in the world's extremes? The next time you hear a miraculous story of survival, maybe don't ask how lucky they were. Ask how the physics aligned perfectly to keep them alive. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the impossible.